What if I told you there's a city that changed Christianity forever, and you probably never heard of it? It's not a coastal capital or a famous metropolis. It's a ruin hidden in the mountains of Turkey. Christianity begins in Jerusalem. On that, almost everyone agrees. But religions are not shaped only by where they are born. They're shaped by where they change. Not in Rome, not in Alexandria, but in the rugged interior of Asia Minor.
If Jerusalem is the birthplace of Christianity, this is where Christianity took its first steps. This is Antioch of Pisidia.
One sermon, one decision, a blueprint that would spread across the Roman world like a wildfire. This isn't just a local story. It's a moment a Jewish movement became a global faith.
Welcome to Antioch of Pisidia.
High in the mountains of Anatolia, over 1,200 meters above the sea level, a Roman colony sits on a strategic ridge. This is Colonia Augusta Antiochia. This wasn't a city of philosophers. It was a city of iron, a retirement colony for Roman veterans, the elite soldiers who had bled to expand the empire.
So this was the place. It was on a very important road, a Roman road, and it was located on a ridge overlooking the valley. Over here to my left is the Sultan Mountains, where all the water would be coming from, about 11 miles away.
The city stretches 3 kilometers along the ridgeline. It was designed to be a little Rome, planned, controlled, and intensely loyal to the emperor.
This city was founded in about 3rd century by Seleucid kings, probably the Antioch the first or the second. It later became a Roman colony. It changed the name to Colonia Augusti Antiochia. So this place was a retirement center for all the Roman soldiers or Roman centurions, people who were in charge of the soldiers, so they would live here in this area.
At the highest point of the city sits its ideological center, the Temple of Augustus. This is the Imperial cult. Here, Rome declared that Caesar wasn't just a politician, he was a god. To live here was to be surrounded by the overwhelming power of the state.
Where I'm standing right now, it is the Temple of Augustus. Augustus was the first emperor of Rome. It was about 70 times 70 meters plateau. It was carved into a bedrock, and it's all carved all around. It's one beautiful carving into the stone, and it was placed here. There's an altar right in front of me where they have in this giant plateau. Right below is Tiberius Plaza, where Emperor Tiberius later built a plaza so people would come in and see this giant temple over here.
But in the shadow of this imperial temple, there was a different kind of space, a synagogue. It was home to a small Jewish community and a group known as the God-fearers, Gentiles who were tired of Roman paganism and drawn to the God of Israel, yet remained stuck on the outside looking in.
I am standing inside of a church, St. Paul's Church. This church is most likely the same location of the first synagogue that was here in Antioch.
Around 40 AD, 2 men walk into this tension, Paul and Barnabas. They had traveled hundreds of miles over dangerous mountain passes to reach this specific colony. They do what Paul always does. They head straight for the heart of the community.
This is where Paul came with Barnabas on his first mission journey. The synagogue was comprised of Jews and then also some God-fearing Gentiles.
Paul is invited to speak. He starts with familiar, Moses, the Exodus, King David, but then he takes a hard turn. He tells the God-fearers in the back of the room something they never thought they'd hear.
He gave an options to the Gentiles that there's a salvation for them as well through Christ, which they didn't have before because they're not Jewish.
The walls come down. For the first time, these outsiders are told, you don't need to become culturally Jewish to belong to the God of Israel. The invitation is open. They respond, it was electric.
The message was well received at first, and then everyone kind of got excited. So on Shabbat, the following week, they all invited him and everyone gathered here. And Paul preached again, and all the Gentiles were very receptive of this message, and the Jews who were rebelled against Paul and Barnabas. And then Paul said these famous words, because we are rejected, we are turning on to the Gentiles.
In that moment, Christianity breaks its container. What began as a sect of Judaism becomes something the Roman world would have never seen. A movement that didn't care about your bloodline, your passport, or your social status.
The Greek text says that they were actually cast out of the city. They were cast out of the city, and then also Paul says the famous words that he is dusting off the dirt from his feet and leaving the city alone. Some people say Christianity started in Jerusalem, and they are right. But this, where I'm standing right now, was where Christianity made its turn.
Antioch was the prototype. From here, Paul takes this strategy to the great cities to the west, Ephesus, Corinth, and of course, Rome itself. The pattern is set. Synagogue, Gentiles, resistance, repeat.
Later on, he wrote a letter to the Galatians. You're saved through your faith, not through your deeds.
The letter to the Galatians was written to the people of this very region. It became the theological bedrock of the West. Faith over lineage, grace over law. A city built to honor Caesar's power ended up hosting the movement that would eventually replace it.
This is Antioch, the most important ancient city you probably never heard of. If you like this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and most importantly, keep digging.